Hello, sir.
Hey, Eyal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Let's just wait a few minutes. We're a bit early. Let's let everybody log on.
Yeah.
Hello. Let's see, I've got no audio.
Okay, everyone. Good afternoon. Eyal, do you want to just say something just so we can make sure that we can hear you?
Yeah. Can
Okay,
you hear
very
me?
good. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if they can hear? Great. Good afternoon. Just a word before we begin about Zoom protocol. This conversation between me and Eyal is going to be recorded and available somewhere. We'll have to decide where, maybe on our website. So if you're a person who's a little shy and would prefer not having their picture broadcast on the internet, all you have to do is just turn off your own camera and you can still fully participate and listen in to the conversation. So a lot of the people on this call, because they're friends of our congregation, they know me. I'm not sure if everybody knows who Eyal is. Eyal is supposed to be here in Toronto. Unfortunately, due to pandemic, he has had to return to Israel. The reason he's supposed to be in Toronto is because he is our head Shaliah from the UJA Federation, or head Shaliah to the UJA Federation, in charge of major gifts as well. So he was playing actually a very important role within Federation. And I think one of his main responsibilities is to strengthen the connection between the Toronto Jewish community and the state of Israel. So even though he can't be here on this coast, through the magic of Zoom technology, we can have an opportunity to connect with Israel in this way, to hear about what's going on in the country, and to reflect a little bit about Israel and the importance it plays in our lives during a very important week on our calendar. So let me first ask you, Eyal, who are you? Can you say a word about yourself to everybody who's listening, and what the role is of a Shaliach, why you became a Shaliach in the first place?
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Rabbi Grover, and thank you all for joining this today. I'm very excited, actually. I've been to your congregation a few times, but this is a little bit different to see you all like this. So really, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. So first of all, I am still working with Federation. I'm doing that via Zoom, of course, and it's actually pretty nice because when I wake up in Israel, you guys are still asleep, so I can get some work done and be ahead of everyone. So it's actually very nice. And in case you were wondering, this is not a Corona beard. This is actually how I look like. There's a term right now that is called a Corona beard. People are not shaving their beards because of the Corona. So this is totally real. A little bit about myself. So my name is Eyal, and first of all, I'm a husband to Yam, and we have a 2-year-old. His name is Alon. You can probably see on my eyes, and we're expecting another girl in a few months. And I'm UJA's Shaliach, Israeli emissary. Yam and I moved to Toronto a year and a half ago, for a 3 years term shlichut, and that only if we'll survive the next winters, I hope. But I think right now when I'm looking why we came to Toronto, and maybe this is Rabbi Grover, maybe this is a good way to tell my story and who I am. I'm looking at a series of events that really made us decide to do this move and come to Toronto for this shlichut. I think maybe the first event in my life would be growing up to a family of farmers. I grew up, all of my great-grandparents and all of my grandparents, they're all farmers in Israel, generation of farmers. My great-grandparents came to Israel in the 1920s from different countries all around the world, with a big vision to cultivate the land of Israel. And they saw it as the only way to really build the country. So really growing up to the narrative that Eretz Israel was established thanks to hard work people like my great-grandparents, like my grandparents. So really, and I actually brought, this is my great-grandfather. His name is Eliyahu. And my grandfather, his name is Tzvika or Tzvi. I just had to mention them because I really think they affect everything that I do and all the decision that I made. So this is maybe the first thing. The next event will be joining the IDF. So I joined the IDF at the age of 19, and for 8 years, all I did was making myself as professional as I can be in protecting the state of Israel. So I was in the Naval Academy, a cadet in the Naval Academy, and after that, I served as a ship commander in the Navy, also mainly in the border with Lebanon, but also in Gaza for a year during Tzuk Eitan and some more operations. After that, I was promoted to a squadron commander, and I commanded a unit of 6 patrol ships. And like I said, when we say professional as I can be to protect the state of Israel, but studies show that in the battlefield, I don't know, Rabbi Grover, do you know what in the battlefield, what makes a warrior get out of his foxhole and run towards the enemy line? Make a guess.
Patriotism, courage.
I'm sorry, but it's not patriotism. It's not the flag of Israel, and it's not the shlichut. So what makes a warrior get out of his foxhole and run towards the enemy line is his friends behind him. Yes, and maybe his family that are in the case of Israel, the family are at home 20 minutes away drive from the battlefield, which is actually the best thing about being a commander in the IDF. I mean, every time there's a motivation problem with a soldier, I mean, not a problem, a challenge, then you can just take them outside, show them their home, and say, this is what you're protecting. So that's the privilege that we have as IDF soldiers. So again, for 8 years, I was thinking about my family and friends around me and how to protect them in the most professional way I know and can. And if it's okay with you, Rabbi Grover, I'll tell 2 stories about that.
Yeah.
So I think these stories really summarize why I came here. So again, growing up in Israel, you focus on your friends, on your family around you, and after the army service, I was volunteering for an organization called the Shomer Chadash. Shomer Chadash is an organization that helps farmers all around Israel, and coming from a farmer's family, that is very close to my heart. And one day there was a guy from the States that came to see what we do. And at that time we were fighting fires. And I don't know if you remember, at that time in Israel, we were fighting fires all around the country. It was not only in Gaza and the settlements that surround Gaza. And there was a guy from the States, and my manager told him, hey, take him to a tour, show him what we do, how we fight fires, how we help the farmers. I made him a 2 hours tour. We had a great conversation. And at the end of the 2 hours tour, he told me, you know what, I'm going to give you 2 fire trucks. And instead of saying thank you to him, I asked him why. Why are you doing this? And I really think it was the first time in my life that I realized that there are people that are not living in Israel that care about Israel. And I was 26, and I'm sad to say that, but that was, I mean, me getting out of my own picture. And I really think that that's what made me decide to go to a shlichut and just learn more about our brothers and sisters outside of Israel. So this is in a nutshell who I am and why I'm in Toronto, or not in Toronto right now. But
that's so interesting. You're a sophisticated, cultured guy. And I've heard that from many Israelis before, that they do not understand why diaspora Jews would care so much about a country that they don't live in.
Yeah, you know, it's
you're 26 years old when you realized that there was a diaspora community that was motivated and dedicated to Israel's security, even through forest fires.
Yeah,
is that reflective today of 26-year-olds in general in Israel? You don't think they understand that?
I would say in general, and I don't like saying things in general, but in general, I would say yes. I really think there's a gap, and I really think that in Israel, there's a lot of place to educate Israelis about the big picture. And when I'm saying the big picture is, you know, world Jewry. And I don't know why, but it's just, maybe it's the pressure, and growing up in a place where every 2 or 3 years there's a war. I don't know, it makes you look at the Jewish people through the lens of Israel, and you don't really know what's happening out there. And I have to tell you that, just in a sentence, that in the last year and a half that me and my wife and our son living in Toronto, we experienced something that I can't even explain in words. I would maybe tell you that I remember the first Shabbat we went to Bet Knesset, and I sat there, and I don't have to tell you because you know me. I don't go to Bet Knesset a lot in Israel, but I went here, And I heard for the first time in my life the prayer for the soldiers of Israel that every synagogue reads every Shabbat, right? I had no idea that people are praying for me when I was serving 8 years in the army and risking my life. So just hearing that, just going to the IDF soldiers right now, telling them, every Shabbat someone is praying for you, only that will make a difference.
Wow. So tell me, what is Shlichut? What is the mission that they give you? This is the Jewish agency, right, that handles all Shlichut all around the world. What is the point? What is the mission that you're sent off with?
So first of all, technically, it's not the Jewish agency. I'm here on behalf of an organization called Keren HaYesod, which is another national institution like the Jewish agency. But I represent UJA Federation, which is, I represent the community of Toronto. And I really think that when I came here, by the way, I didn't replace anyone. This role of the Israeli Shaliah for UJA was before 10 years ago, but no one was in this role for the last 10 years. And I really think that I really see my mission is to shed some more light on what this community is doing in Israel and how this community is changing lives in Israel. Because I truly think that the community in Toronto don't know well what they're doing back in Israel and how they're changing lives. And it's pretty amazing. And I really think that only when I finished that tour with that guy fighting fires, then my eyes opened, and I as an individual started to see all the evidence in Israel of what diaspora Jewry is doing in Israel. For example, I can tell you that I was walking with my son. He was 3 or 4 months old. Was walking in our moshav. We lived in a very small moshav. Nobody even know that this moshav exists. And I was walking him, and then I saw a plaque on the daycare, and it says this daycare was generously donated by the Jewish community of Michigan. Okay, suddenly you start seeing things, and you start seeing that this project that is called Israel, there are a lot of stakeholders in that project, and a lot of people helped build this project that I'm so proud of.
And not only is it an issue for Israelis, they don't really understand that this is an international why did I say air? An international mission. What did you use? You used an international effort. Sorry. My Israeli, I'm speaking to an Israeli accents get in my head. They don't understand that it's an effort that's international. But you're saying there's even a problem in Toronto where Torontonians who might write a check to Federation on an annual basis don't really understand the impact that their gift is making on the ground for the lives of parents sending their children to daycare, for example.
Yeah, look, it's hard. It's hard to track everything, and also it's hard to track things that a big organization like UJ is doing. But yes, there are. I mean, I think there is, and maybe I'm jumping to a little bit forward, but I think there is a new way to see philanthropy these days. Okay, I read an article recently that only 1.5% of the government budget comes from philanthropy from outside of Israel. Okay, so let's be honest. Writing a check doesn't make any change. Okay, it's not a game changer. It's nice, it's generous, it's great. But I really think that today, if you want to support Israel, I really think that money is not the issue. I really think that the issue is leadership. I think that the way that diaspora, and again, this is only me, I'm sorry, I'm not talking on behalf of UJA or anyone else. I'm just talking about my personal opinion. I really think that the way that diaspora diaspora can really support Israel in these days is to show leadership, show the way. Okay, so and I'll give you an example of
Yeah,
how
can
this
you say a
community
little
is
bit more
showing.
about what you mean by that? We've heard that
Yes,
a lot
yes,
from Israel, from Israelis saying, listen, we are more capable of supporting ourselves than we've ever been, but we need your help in other ways. So you're saying the vacuum is in leadership
yes.
outside of Israel. What do you mean by that?
So I'll give you an example, okay? A few years ago, this community, the Toronto Jewish community, established or helped establish, put some money in establishing the Center for Renewable Energy in Eilat Eilot, okay? This is, I mean, they identified an opportunity. This is a place, Eilat Eilot is in the desert. There's not a lot of workforce or work opportunities, and they thought that renewable energy is the way to really develop the area, okay? And after a few years, when it started going, the Toronto Jewish community pulled out from this project. Why? Because there's always an exit strategy to the investment. It's more business oriented than the real traditional philanthropy that we're talking about. Anyway, to make long story short, today the international conference that happens every year for renewable energy, people from all around the world that are coming to learn and network with each other and learn about renewable energy are doing that conference in Eilat, in the Center for Renewable Energy. More than that, in a few years from now, the plan is 3 years, but I don't know, 100% of the energy in Eilat and Eilot area is going to be produced from renewable energy, solar panels, etc. So look what happened. And Toronto is not even supporting this initiative anymore, but they showed the way and they identified an opportunity. And this is what I mean by showing leadership. There's always an exit strategy. Okay, if you look at Israel as a startup, and I'm coming from the high-tech world before I came. And if you look at Israel as a startup, okay, we just finished raising our first capital. Okay, Israel is still very, very young. Okay, right now, it takes more than just capital. It takes people that will show the way. And just to make the statement for why Israel is so young, we're just building our first subway right now in Tel Aviv. The first subway. So everyone say, Israel is not young anymore. It's a strong country. That's right. But if there's one thing that you see in Israel all the time is construction. Why? Because we're still building it, still building the country, still building this first subway, so it's still young, but yes, it moved to a new phase. And yeah, I hope it answered your question about leadership.
And what you're saying is we need more diaspora Jews personally invested in the growth of the country, interested and helpful even on development projects and new ideas, collaborative work.
Yes.
More than just writing a check.
Yeah. I will tell you that an example in Israel, every time there's a war, everyone are united. Okay, it's very easy to know what is bad, what is good. Everyone are really, really united. But the whole challenge is to stay united in peace. Okay, and to stay united even when like to stay united and support when there's peace and there's not any challenges. So I say it was easy to support the state of Israel in its first few years, even in its first few decades. Every dollar helped to build infrastructure and new homes in the Holy Land. Every tree that was planted actually made a difference. Every piece of land that was cultivated claimed ownership on our land. Now we need to be creative in order to support. And it's okay because Israel is still a very young country.
Right.
So yeah, so I really think this is how you can be creative. And I truly think, and again, I'm speaking for Toronto Jewish community because I've been living in Toronto for the last year and a half. The Toronto Jewish community, I really feel, know Israel very well, very, very well. Like it's not something that I've experienced before. I speak to people in my office, they know Israel politics more than they know Canadian politics. So I really think the knowledge is there. It's just we need to be creative in order to find ways to connect and support this, again, communal project that we call the State of Israel.
Right. So your job is sort of, you see the passion, you see the interest, and it's your job to make the connection and say, well, this is where you can use your passion and actually contribute your knowledge and your experience, because that's what we need right now more than anything. It's interesting. It's a whole new role for what a Shaliah is, a bridge builder, but more than that, almost a director of resources, so you can figure out how to put the right people in the right place.
Yeah, you might say that. Yeah, but again, like you said, we need to be very creative. It's not what we are used to, and it's a whole way to show support and to be involved in this project.
So this program is called Connecting to Israel. I thought it would be important to do so this week because you talk about the emotions that are behind the relationship, and this is a week that's very emotional for you in Israel, and that is usually an emotional week for us as well. But I think because of the situation in the world, a lot of what we normally do to commemorate Yom HaShoah and Yom HaZikaron has had to be minimalized and revised. So can you tell us a little bit about, connect with us a little bit about what's going on now in Israel, what you did? I think people would be interested to hear specifically about what you did on Yom HaShoah with your grandfather, and what's planned for this week with regards to Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaTzmaut celebrations.
Yes. So absolutely. So I'll start with saying that what I did with my grandfather in Yom HaShoah, it was actually an initiative of my wife. She really did the whole thing. But we came up with an idea to do a Zikaron Basalon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this concept, but it's really a concept that tries to bring Yom HaShoah more, closer to younger people in a more welcoming way. And so it's called Zikaron Basalon, a memory in the living room, because people in Israel are doing memory nights with Holocaust survivors in their living room. So we did, of course, a virtual one with my grandfather. My grandfather is a Holocaust survivor from the Netherlands. He survived the Holocaust. He moved to Israel. He fought Israel's wars. He won the Medal of Honor in Milchemet Yom Kippur. He's a real role model to me. So what we did, we just decided to enable him. So, and needless to say, he's 85 years old. He's in self-quarantined in his house. He hasn't been able to see anyone in, 2 months, something like that. So we wanted to enable him to tell his story. So we did the Zikaron Basalon via Zoom, like we're doing here. We didn't know what to expect, and we ended up having close to 200 people joining this Zikaron Basalon. So it was a very, very touching evening for him and for us as well. So this week or 2 weeks between Yom HaShoah.
Can you just say something, Eyal, about, you're an interesting guy to talk to, but I would love one day to talk to this grandfather of yours. You said he won the Medal of Honor in the Yom HaShoah. So I'm just interested, can you summarize, what was his message? Did he have, aside from his story, which I'm sure he told, did he have a message for the people on the line that you think we would appreciate hearing?
So my grandfather, every time he speaks, and he's a good speaker, and thank God he's still bright and can talk right to business. But he's always emphasizing the value of family. I mean, he established a big family in Israel, and I really think that's his biggest pride up until today. And what he did in Milchemet Yom Kippur, and he was in Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim, the 6-Day War, and he established. He was a farmer, established a business and everything. But I really think that his biggest message was always to look forward. And we had only an hour to interview him, and we were talking only about the Holocaust. But actually, the most interesting part of his life is after he moved to Israel, because this is something that up until today I can't even imagine someone that is coming from the ashes of the Holocaust, coming to Israel, taking a weapon in his hand and fighting for the state of Israel. And it's just unbelievable for me. And every time I speak to him, I have tears in my eyes. But but I think his main message was family is number one, and do everything to protect your family.
And your grandfather, do you think his story set the stage for you all for this week?
Yes. So this week, and I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm wearing a special pin for you guys tonight. This is, do you recognize this, Rabbi Grover?
No, I do a close-up.
This is, okay, here.
I don't know if everybody can see.
So this is a flower that is called Dam HaMaccabim, the blood of the Maccabees, and this has been for many, many years.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No? Maybe I'll take it off and I'll show you. Anyways, this has been the symbol of Yom HaZikaron in Israel for many, many years. And again, the name of the flower is the blood of the Maccabees, Dam HaMaccabim. And the story, the fairy tale says that the Maccabim, in their final battle, every place that a Maccabee was killed, the blood stayed there, and from the blood came out this flower that is called the blood of the Maccabees. And I don't know if you guys can see, it's very red. So every Yom HaZikaron, ever since I remember myself, there is a sticker that we all wear on this day on our white shirts to commemorate Israel's fallen soldiers. Yes. But this year, a very good friend of our family, he actually made a pin with the actual flower. So this is the actual flower. It's not a sticker. It's an actual flower. And he dried it in a way that it can be preserved for 3 years. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that. I really
very cool.
Yeah. But anyways, this I think the worst thing in Yom HaZikaron is that it touches in a very personal level in every person in the Israeli society. However, the best thing in Yom HaZikaron is that it touches in a personal level in every person in the society. And I can tell you that, so my father, he was an F-16 pilot in the Air Force for 30 years. So we grew up as kids, moving from one Air Force base to another every few years. And every year as a child, I would go with my father to the different cemeteries to go and commemorate his fallen friends. And my father lost a lot of friends during his army service, his 30 years of army service. So we literally went from one cemetery to another. But as a child, it was, okay, it's my father's, it's not me. I mean, I don't really know what it is. And I can tell you that the first time that I started to think about it is when I was a ship commander in Tzuk Eitan, And my little brother, he was an infantry soldier fighting inside Gaza. So for 2 months, I think, we had no connection with my brother. I mean, my parents, they had no connection with me, no connection with my brother, but I was in Gaza from the seaside, and he was inside the city. So I actually could hear on the radio things that are happening with his unit. And there were a few times, that are really, I mean, I was hearing the bombing, the fighting, everything. And I really thought that my brother, that's it. I mean, I'm not going to see my brother anymore. And that was the first time that I started thinking about my own loss, even though, thank God, I didn't lose him and he's alive and he's okay and everything is fine. But I started thinking about that. And unfortunately, a year and a half later, my best friend got killed. And that was the first time that I experienced Yom HaZikaron. And I joined this group that is called, I don't know how to say that in English, but it's this group of families and friends that lost their loved ones. So I think, again, this day
Thinking of
touches...
you're thinking of Mishpachot Shakulot.
Mishpachot Shakulot, yes.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
funny. I don't know if there is a word for it in English. It's like you would call it an empty family or a family in mourning. We don't have the equivalent, but it's part of the language in Israel. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's all you see on television, right? On Yom HaZikaron, it's all interviews with families that have lost best friends like you and relatives, and they tell their story.
Yes. So actually these families, this Yom HaZikaron that is going to be, I think tomorrow night is Erev Yom HaZikaron, and after that it's going to be the first time in many years that all of these families are going to be alone, because the government of Israel came out with a statement that nobody is allowed to go to the cemeteries during Yom HaZikaron because of COVID-19. And if you asked me a few days ago, Manishtana in Israel because of COVID-19, so this is a big Manishtana this year, and it's very hard because the way that this day happens in Israel, it's that everybody is going to different cemeteries because like I said, every single person in the society knows someone or knows someone that got killed or something like that. So everyone goes to a different cemetery. And after that, the best thing about this day, that you go to the house of your friend's family. I mean, I go to my friend's parents' house and spend the whole day with them. And it's actually a very nice day. Like we look at pictures and we laugh together and we tell stories, and this actually helps them to get over this day. And this Yom HaZikaron is going to be different because every family like that is going to be alone. So it's hard, but
you're saying there's a sense of unity that usually exists in the country on Yom HaZikaron, even just because everyone's in the cemetery standing together and out and about visiting people and comforting them. And today it's going to be done in a much weaker way.
Yes.
So it'll be hard for people who rely on others for a sense of consolation on that day.
Yes. And there's a big argument ever since I remember myself. There's a big argument about how come Yom HaAtzmaut comes right after Yom HaZikaron. Like, from the most sad day in the year, you transition to the most happy day in the year.
Right.
And I have to say that I love it. I really think it's so unique, and it makes everything, I mean, it makes everything seem so good. It makes you proud of your country, and it really it's actually the most natural way to do this, because the people, I mean, my friend that was killed, he was killed for our country and for our and for all of us, and all of Israel's fallen soldiers did it for our, for us to become a nation and to preserve what we have. So this transition even seems very natural to me. And this is actually another very unique thing about this week, that people can't even imagine that they're moving from, crying on the grave of their friends to celebrating in the streets and doing barbecue. But to me, it's natural.
Because you're feeling that they're both days of intense patriotism. It's just patriotism expressed in different ways. On the first day, it's honoring those who laid down their lives because of that love. And on the next day, it's celebrating the love, but it's all the same cause that's being celebrated. So this year, Yom Ha'atzmaut is 72 years. And in many ways, I think Israel feels very distant from us this year. We're stuck in our homes. There's no flights anymore, even going across the ocean and bringing people from one place to another. So we need your help. What do you think we should be celebrating this year? What do you think it is that we in Toronto should be appreciating about Israel that maybe we don't always appreciate?
So first of all, in some way you're right. It seems very far away because nobody's traveling to Israel. I think I was the only one that traveled. I mean, the last one that traveled from Toronto to Israel. But maybe it's the other way. I mean, I can tell you about my wife. My wife is a Hebrew teacher, and she has so many students right now from actually all around the world, from 6 countries all around the world, that people are trying to find ways to connect to Israel, to Judaism, and she's actually, I mean, she's teaching a lot of people right now. So I really think that in some ways, we would call it the Zoom era, enables us to connect in a better way. But I really think so. First of all, I really feel that my community in Toronto, and I allow myself to call it my community. People really appreciate Israel, and I feel that in every day. I think I told you that for a year in Toronto, a whole year, there wasn't one Shabbat dinner we weren't invited. It really, like, people are so welcoming and heartwarming, and really appreciate what Israel is doing, and what the relationship is all about. I would say that the way to support or appreciate or whatever that will be is just to remember that that still Israel is a home for everyone, for every Jew on this planet, and ever since Israel was established, there wasn't one Jewish refugee around the world. It's a fact. So just see Israel as your home. And I'm actually having a lot of these conversations with more younger people, that they have a lot of complaints about Israel, which I don't blame them. I have a lot of complaints about Israel also, especially these times when it looks like we're going to a 4th election. But I think as long as you see Israel as your home, and you don't have to live there, you don't have to do anything, but as long as you see Israel as your home, then you're able to really care and do something in order to change it. Okay? You don't have to like Israel just because it's there. You just have to care enough to do things that will change it and make it a better place for all of us. So my ask would be just to look at Israel as your home. Just care about it. Yes, it has a lot of flaws. A lot of things are not good right now. But again, it's only the start. We're here for the long run, not for just for the sprint.
And what do you think a community like ours could do in order to have Israel feel more like home? What is the problem where you think young people are not getting that message?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Is it just
I
a
don't know
more
how to say.
cynical generation, or are we failing them? Is there something we're not doing right?
So no, I don't think it's a cynical generation. I really think that there is. It's very easy to be critical about Israel. It's very easy because like I said, there are a lot of flaws and there's a lot where to improve. But if you see those challenges as something that can change some way someday, and you have the power to help change it, then that's fine. I mean, and I think that in Israel, a lot of people, they have this drive because they say, okay, I live here, I might as well just make it a better place. But I think young people in the diaspora, often they don't think like that because they don't live there. So they say, okay, I'm not happy with what Israel is doing, then I'm not going to go to Israel because it's doesn't sit well with my values. But if you care and you need to think like you're living there and like you care what's happening there, then just go and make it change. Do something to change it.
Part of what I think gets lost maybe when you say that young people give up on Israel too easily is because maybe some of the rhetoric of, like you said, well, since there's been a state of Israel, we haven't had a single Jewish refugee in the world. I wonder if that's really a powerful or moving statement for a Jew that lives in Canada. We don't see refugees around us, and our image of we don't have those images of Jewish refugees like other generations may have had. Our idea of a refugee is a war-torn nation somewhere probably in the Middle East where its people are living in tents. We look at Jewish life in the diaspora as wonderful and comfortable, and we don't need a place for refugees. So maybe it's an excuse that makes it easier to give up on Israel. We don't need a place of refuge like we used to.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for me, I see it very, very clear. Israel is the state of the Jewish people. That's a fact. If you identify yourself as a Jew, this is your state, whether you like it or not. So the only question is what you do about it. Okay, I mean, again, if you identify yourself as a Canadian and you don't like what Canada is doing, what are you doing about that? Are you leaving the country, or are you staying and just doing your best to make it better, or just, looking the other way? Or, I mean, everybody's choosing their own choices. But if you decide not to leave Canada and to stay, then you're doing something to make your life better. So again, if you identify yourself as a Jew and you feel that Judaism is a part of your life, then the state of the Jewish people is part of your life.
So I want to ask you a tough question now. So that's very good. You're saying what most of the studies have said, which is
yes,
a strong Jewish identity correlates with a strong, I mean, it's obvious in many ways, correlates with a strong Zionist identity. The more you are proud of your Judaism, the more you are attached and connected to the state of Israel. But when I asked you, okay, so what's the challenge with the younger generation? Well, we also know this is a younger generation that's where that Jewish identity is not as strong as it was in the past. When you come to Toronto and you see a community that's largely secular, are you worried about that contributing to a disconnect between ironically a secular state of Israel,
Yeah.
but a diaspora Jewish community that's really still struggling to be proud in its religious and cultural and national identity?
Yeah, so to your question, yes, I'm worried, but I'm worried also when I go to Israel and I see that people are getting very, very, further away from the Jewish religion and Jewish tradition. When you live in Israel, you take your Judaism for granted, like really, because you go to a bar, you want to meet a nice girl, you don't need to think if she's Jewish or not. She's Jewish,
right?
Because you went to a bar in Jerusalem. So it's like these kind of things, they're not in your head. So when I'm saying I'm worried, yes, I'm worried when I see millennials in Toronto, and I'm worried also when I see millennials in Israel. So that's, I think, to answer your question, how do we overcome this challenge is meeting people to people. Okay, we need to do a big effort to make sure that young people from Toronto are meeting young people from Israel, and I hope that the young people from Israel will strengthen the Zionist feeling in the young people from Toronto, and the young people from Toronto will teach the Israelis what it's like to be, I'm sorry to say that, but a better Jew. You guys are better Jews. So there are, like I said in the beginning, when I started this job, I wanted to see the bigger picture. This big picture for me is built on these two, and it has to come together.
So you think
yeah.
the key today is more encounters, more relationship building. It's not
Yes.
going to be easy to do in this climate, but there's no shortcuts. The way is to
No.
bring people to each other's homes some way,
Yeah.
using technology or otherwise. I mean, doing what we're doing now, just
Yeah.
talking about Israel and reflecting on its importance.
Yeah, look, the Shinshinim program, for example, I think it's an amazing program. I really think that brings Israel to Toronto, and when these guys go back, they bring Toronto to Israel.
Right.
So it's amazing. There's another program, and I'm saying programs because I really see what I said, the people to people and getting to know each other. I really see as it's going very well, and it's the new direction of a lot of Jewish organizations. But for example, we support a program that is called Project 10. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's basically young people from all around the world, from Israel and not from Israel, that are going to different places around the world that have some kind of crisis, like third world countries, and they do a 6 months volunteerism program in Kenya, or in Uganda, or in Mexico, in very poor places. And they do tikkun olam together, volunteerism.
Very nice.
And people from Toronto or the States or Argentina or whatever meet people from Israel, and they spend time together. And by that, they teach each other what their values and what the values that they've been growing upon, So, and there's a lot of different examples like that, and I love these examples because I like I said, I really think that's the way to overcome this gap. I don't like to call it a gap; it's a challenge, but to overcome this challenge.
So there's a lot to celebrate in this year, Yom HaAtzmaut. This was a tough year for Israel. It got
Say
hit
the
over
least.
and over again with political scandals and trials, and now Corona. You've been seeing this from afar, and now you're seeing it up close. Can you give us a sense of what things are like now? I understand that this is the first week many soldiers have been allowed to leave their base. They've been stuck there for months at a time. The lockdown in Israel has been much more intense
Yeah.
even than it is here.
Yeah. So actually, I met my brother yesterday. My brother is in the army, and I met him after he wasn't here for a long time. So I know it from firsthand. Yes, it was. I think when we got here, it was very intense. It was a lockdown, and if you ask me, I really think that the main reason is because Israelis are not are not very good with discipline. So it was good that it was strict. But right now, actually, in the past few days, we're seeing. I mean, the government is starting to free the economy. So you start seeing people on the streets. Stores are starting to open, and it looks quite promising. But yeah, before that, it was something like I've never seen something like that before. Like Israel, like the roads are empty, the streets are empty. And actually, I don't remember that from Toronto when I mean, just before I left. I don't know how it's like that right now, but here it was a very serious feeling in the air.
Yeah, here I think you were ahead of us. The breakout happened in Israel before it happened
Yeah.
in Toronto, and I remember hearing of some measures that they were taking that I don't even think we've taken yet to protect people. They were very nervous about the outbreak getting out of control. But
Yeah.
I just read something somewhere that said Israel is gonna be this year one of the safest places to be in the world, in a pre-vaccine world,
Yeah.
because of the steps that have already been taken and the technologies that are quickly coming out that are going to make it easier for the economy to open up and for people to gather back together again.
Well, yeah, I hope. I really hope. I mean, as of now, it looks in a good direction, and it actually feels safe to be here. But I mean, I felt safe in Toronto also, but it feels safe, and I hope. Yeah, I really hope we'll get to that, and I really hope that Israel's startup and high tech and med tech industries, they're all working on a vaccine. I really hope that we will be the first ones to bring it.
What do you think we should be in all these years? What do you think in Toronto we should be proudest of? Think back about your comments about your grandfather and where he came from and the country that he has seen develop. Give us some words that you think he might say also to keep us focused on what we should be most grateful for in terms of Israel's accomplishments.
So I would say, in one word, the IDF. In more than one word, I would say that media is really.
Okay, so stop. Why the IDF? So you can't just say that. You have to tell us
No, I'm
why.
saying that. Yes,
Okay, so
I'm
the
saying
IDF,
why.
tell us why.
So the IDF. So I'm saying I really think that the media is not doing very good to the IDF. And if you come
noticed.
from, yeah. So if you come from a different country, it shows a lot of lies and it shows a lot of things about the IDF. But I can tell you from firsthand, and I think I told you this story, Rabbi Grover, but the IDF is the most moral military force in the world, and I can guarantee you that. And I've seen that from firsthand, and again, I'll tell you a story. So in Tzuk Eitan, we were preparing for a very complex operation. We were trying to hunt down one of the terrorists, and one night after a few weeks, we were waiting for that. We went out to sea, and we spotted the terrorist. We had our gun on him, and we were really just waiting for the confirmation to take him down. And just before we got the approval, someone said on the radio that he spots a vehicle 1 kilometer away from that terrorist. And I have to say, this terrorist has a lot of blood on his hands. And this car that was 1 kilometer from there was maybe 15% that this car might get hit from the attack. 15% is very low. I mean, I can tell you that I was 100% sure that this car was not gonna get harmed from this attack. And at the end of the day, we aborted the operation. We aborted. We didn't press on the trigger, and we went back home because of these 15% that maybe an innocent woman, child, man, doesn't even matter, that an innocent person will get hurt. We aborted the whole operation, and we let this terrorist live. And examples like that are in every corner. I mean, you hear stories like that, and you can't even believe that. And I'm very proud of these stories because, I mean, I can tell you as a 23-year-old that just wants action, I was very disappointed. But right now, when I'm thinking about it, and after that, I'm very proud of this example. And I think that people should know and be proud of the Israeli Defense Forces. They're doing an impossible job of really hunting those terrorists and our enemies. And they are your enemy as well. They are enemies of the entire Jewish people.
Right.
And
Hamas deliberately creates these moral conflicts by hiding.
Yes.
We know that by hiding behind schools and hospitals. They like playing with the moral code of the IDF.
Yeah, and I saw it with my own eyes. It's happening. And again, I'm saying the IDF is doing the impossible. It's impossible to fight a war and be moral. It's impossible. I mean, a war is not a moral thing, but how we can do that, it's just amazing. And it's all on the training of our commanders and our soldiers. And I really say, you spend 3 years in the IDF and you see that, and you will be proud for the rest of your life. So this is the point that I want to make. I mean, it's been a few years since I served in the IDF, but still, this is something that I want to carry the message and to tell everyone. This is something we all should be proud of. We are really keeping the Jewish values alive every day.
Eyal, someone is asking if Yam is around and if she could come and say hi to us.
So Yam is teaching a lesson right now in the other room. It's like we work in here. Everyone
Yam is
has their
Eyal's
own room.
wife.
Yes.
So she's in another room now in the house teaching Hebrew.
Yes. Yeah. Behind this wall. So I'm sorry she can't come.
Please tell her that we say hi. Yam
Okay,
is also she is also at Beth Emeth. What's her official title, Eyal?
She's not anymore, actually, but she was the youth director there. But she's not anymore. Right now, she's only teaching
reasons.
Hebrew. Yeah.
Right. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, Eyal. Touched a lot on some of the topics of challenge, so that we can focus on the work that needs to be done. But also, what I hoped for in this conversation is that on this important week, that we could think a little bit about what there is to be proud of, not just on the challenges that I think you're right, get overemphasized. And building a country is an impossible task. Building a country with a bunch of survivors is an impossible task. And in 72 years, it's incredible that it is, in everything it does, a light unto the nations, an example of the human ideals of progress and equality and everything that I think the media misses in telling the story of Israel. Is there anything else you want to add, Eyal?
So I just want to share another thing. I mean, and again, it's just because I want to emphasize how the Toronto Jewish community is unique in its support of Israel, and it's very important that we keep it that way. But in May last year, there was UJA's Walk with Israel, and that was, for me, was my first walk, and it was, I mean, every time I speak about it, it's so emotional for me, because seeing 30,000 people walking on Bathurst Street with Israeli flags in the middle of Toronto is something unbelievable. And this is really shows how this community is supporting Israel, and Israel has a big place in your heart. I actually took a photo and I sent it to one of my friends, and I asked him, where do you think that is? And he said, are you celebrating Yom Ha'atzmaut in Tel Aviv? But I no, this is actually in Toronto. So
wow.
it was very, very impressive. So again, I'm very proud to do my shlichut here. I'm so glad that I did that, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 years.
So it's up to us to keep that connection strong and those feelings strong. Well, we're very lucky to have you, and we hope we can have you back as soon
You will.
as soon as life gets back to normal. And we wish you a day of commemoration, that 2 days of commemoration that I hope unites the whole country, that has been, especially in this fight against Corona, has really been an example to the world about how to do this properly. And we know that the Corona vaccine is going to come from Israel. So you have to promise us that it can come from Israel, and you get to choose which countries get it first and which ones don't, okay? That'll solve this whole problem. Iran is the last.
You got yourself
okay?
a deal. Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
And Eyal, a great night.
Yes.